Nittany Nation publisher, Rich Schnyderite here, joined by Rivals rankings analyst, Rivals mid-Atlantic recruiting analyst. What do we call you now, Adam?
National recruiting analyst and rankings director now, yeah.
So let's jump right into it. Penn State signing the number 6 recruiting class in the country. I know we talked about it a little recently too. What stands out about this class and headlined by so many 4-stars, a 5-star, et cetera?
Yeah, a really great class for Penn State. Just a really well-rounded group. Big fan of obviously the quarterback, Drew Allar, but one of my favorite recruits that I've been covering for years and years and years, Dennis Sutton, defensive end, 5-star. I'm excited to see what he's going to do during the All-Star season. He had a little bit of an injury this season, so hopefully he's able to come back from that strong and then make it to Penn State's campus and really continue to take that next step in his development. On the offensive line, I know that's a big area of concern for Penn State fans. They've got a lot of size coming in. Drew Shelton's a big one for them. Malik McNeil's had a lot of physical progress over the last year and a half or so. Junior college 4-star JB Nelson, I like what he brings to the table. And then Andre Roy, a really physically talented offensive lineman that just needs to be refined technically once he does get on campus. Those are some big areas there. And I love what Penn State did at receiver. Caden Saunders is one of my favorite receivers in this class, a true route running technician, great speed, excellent hands, not the biggest guy, but just knows how to get open. And then at the running back spot, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, a great 1-2 punch. Singleton has moved up a great deal in the rankings this year, or after this season rather, and then has a chance to do so again after the All-Star season. And Katron Allen has predictably done very well at IMG and continues to show that he's a very serious college running back. So a lot of progress in this class by these recruits, and just a lot of potential too for when they get to Happy Valley. Yeah.
So now you touched on just about every position group. Let's just start off with the quarterback, Drew Allar. I know fans aren't too happy with his ranking compared to other networks or whatever, but what do you think of him?
Well, number 71 in the country right now, that's nothing to sneeze at. There's only 70 guys ranked ahead of him. He's a big-time quarterback who does a lot with his arm, with his legs, is just a really great playmaker. He doesn't have a lot of talent around him right now on the offensive line or at receiver, and he still put up monster numbers this year. I'm excited to see what he's able to do in the all-star environment with equal playmakers around him compared to some of the other guys that are ranked ahead of him. He's going to have big-time defensive linemen chasing after him, but he's going to have some big-time offensive linemen blocking for him. So we're going to really be able to pick him apart when we get to the All-Star games and see what's going on between the years.
So now let's switch it up a little bit, talk about recruiting areas. Penn State traditionally hasn't done too well in the Philadelphia area, but they just snagged 3 4-stars out of Philly this recruiting cycle. How big is it for them to get back in the Philly area?
Yeah, we've done a really good job there. Philly is super talented in the next few classes also. I'm excited to see what some of these guys are able to do when they do get to Penn State. Keon Wiley just earned his 4-star, really worked for that one. Excited to see the progress that he's made this season as a true terror off the edge for Imhotep this season. I've seen 2 of their games in person this year, of course, seen all the film, and Keon just quietly goes about his business and makes life really difficult for quarterbacks. I'm a big fan of Abdul Carter too, when he's able to get on the field, whether it's either at defensive end or linebacker, just a big hitter who flies to the ball and just does a good job shedding blockers too. I'm excited to see what he's able to do when the coaches can really get their hands on him.
So now the other recruiting area that Franklin's pretty much well known for is his ties to Maryland. They've been hit or miss on some guys here and there. Obviously, they hit on Dennis Sutton, they hit on Andre Roy, Winston, but they've also missed on Barham, Derek Moore, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that they should kind of shift focus away from Maryland, or just kind of put more focus, or just to keep doing the same thing they've been doing?
I would keep at it for sure. I mean, the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia, super talented area. Every team in the country comes and recruits this area, and it's not by accident. And when you border this area as a team, you need to have a big presence there. And Franklin does. He is a big name in this area. Penn State offer in the DMV, it means a lot. Whether or not you land those top recruits is a different story, but the last thing James Franklin wants to do is cede this area to the other Big Ten powers that try to recruit this area, the SEC powers, the other ACC powers, and just kind of vacate it for even Maryland to really start pulling in more of these top recruits. And we know how Penn State fans feel about Maryland, and we know how Maryland fans feel about Penn State. So I would definitely say that Penn State needs to keep at it, regardless of how great or how not so great the outcome is in their efforts. KJ Winston has a chance to be really special at Penn State. He earned his 4th star, and really showed me a lot this season. I've known him for quite a while. I've known him since he's played full-time running back for DeMatha, and now he's blossomed into this fantastic safety prospect who can really do a lot, even when he's got the ball in his hands. So I'm excited to see Penn State to continue to recruit this area.
Yeah, so I know we posted it the other day. A bunch of recruits were excited, whether it's 2022, 23, 24, et cetera, that James Franklin's coming back for at least, it seems like 10 years at this point. So now what are you hearing on your end, and what's your reaction to him signing this massive deal at Penn State?
Well, massive deals are the norm right now. That is the going rate for coaches who have found success at the school that they're at. And if school wants to keep their good head coach, that's what they need to pay him. That's the type of contract that they're looking for now. And he's locked in for 10 years. Yeah. And, players and coaches are happy that there's at least going to be some stability at the top. There's always going to be assistant coaching moves and coordinator changes. Of course. But James Franklin's going to be the constant. And, you get everything that comes with that now. You get his tenacious recruiting efforts. You get his high energy in the room personality. You get these fantastic on-campus experiences. So, I would continue to expect that that's going to be the case going forward.
Gotcha. So now let's move forward a little bit. Let's talk about the 2023 class, off to a hot start. 3-4 stars, if I'm looking correctly.
Yeah, they're doing a good job.
Yeah, they're doing phenomenal between Virginia, Pennsylvania. They're doing pretty well throughout the whole Northeast, it sounds like. But what are you hearing on your end, and how do these 4 commits stand out to you?
But these 4 commits could hold the title of, each of them could hold the title of a co-recruiting coordinator. I mean, each of them are getting after recruits all over the Eastern Seaboard. You look at Lamont Payne kind of heading up their efforts in Western Pennsylvania. It's a super talented area in the 2023 class. Tamir Robinson, Rodney Gallagher, a number of other recruits there. Matthias Barnwell and Alex Birchmeyer, big time prospects who, both are probably going to end up on the offensive line. Barnwell, a really big tight end who's probably going to grow into a tackle, and Birchmeyer, obviously one of the top ranked players, not just offensive linemen, but top ranked players in the country, just shy of his 5th star. They're doing a really good job recruiting. Joey Schlaffer, really not a surprise that he committed to Penn State, but doing a good job heading up Penn State's recruiting efforts up in the eastern part of the state. Looking forward to seeing what he's able to do when I get to see him in person a little bit more. So yeah, a great start by Penn State. Really talented year in the region, and I expect them to get a number of other 4-star commits.
So touching on that a bit, I know they're going to finish number 6, it looks like, in the 2022 class. They're number 3 right now in 2023. Can this 2023 class actually be ranked higher than 2022?
There are the targets out there to make that possible. It's just a matter of whether or not Penn State's able to reel those guys in. We were just talking before we came on air about Javen Williams, Rivals 250 offensive lineman out of Wyomissing, who I'm a huge fan of. We ended up ranking him higher earlier than everybody else. He's a 4-star first on Rivals. And I'm excited about his potential as a guard or even a tackle. A great bender for a huge offensive lineman, a great run blocker who finishes his blocks, and is just massive. So I'm a big fan of what he's able to do, and Penn State's going to be able to land probably him and a number of others like him.
Yeah, and then going back to the recruiting thing a little bit with recruiting areas and stuff like that, 2 Virginia commits. They kept Poindexter, who's one of the best Virginia recruiters out there. How big of how big was it just to keep him on staff?
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. he's got more experience recruiting the state of Virginia than the two new head coaches in the state that are in the state of Virginia, Virginia Tech and the University of Virginia.
Yeah.
Obviously, Penn State fans are very familiar with Coach Brent Pry, but he wasn't the lead recruiter for those guys in Virginia. It was mainly Poindexter being the area recruiter for those guys. So he knows the landscape. And I expect Penn State to continue to do a great job recruiting the Commonwealth there. It'd be nice to see if Penn State could land some of those guys out of the Virginia Beach area. That's pretty difficult right now with the way UNC is recruiting that area, and Coach Dre Bly, their defensive backs coach, being a Virginia Beach native. He's done a great job pulling those guys in. So that's an area you could see some improvement from Penn State in for sure.
So last question, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this. Manny Diaz, new defensive coordinator. What are your thoughts on him? I know we posted a little quote from you, but what are your actual thoughts on him?
I mean, look, the guy's a really good defensive coach. You can say what you want to about him as a head coach. I still think he's a really good schemer, understands concepts that James Franklin likes to employ there on the defensive side of the ball. He's going to have some fantastic personnel to work with, especially on the defensive line, at defensive end, and some outside linebackers who I'm a big fan of. And we'll see how it turns out. I'd be interested to see how the whole Temple situation, if that resurfaces on the recruiting trail. We'll see if that has an effect on some of those guys in the Philadelphia area in the 23-24 class. But, only time will tell.
Yeah, appreciate it, Adam. Thanks as always.
Yeah, of course, Richie. Appreciate it.